Welcome back to Stoppage Time here at Pints and Punditry, and today we're talking managerial changes, and we have to because of the Thomas Tuchel situation. But the Thomas Tuchel situation, coupled with Liverpool's terrible performance in the Champions League, has led to some talk about whether or not Liverpool should be getting rid of Jurgen Klopp, and the hashtag #KloppOut trending on Twitter. And I'm here to tell you, stop it. Stop it with this nonsense. This is sacrilege, particularly if it's coming from Liverpool supporters. What are you thinking? You have no idea what you're doing, what you're saying, or how bad it could be if you got rid of Jurgen Klopp, one of the best managers in all of European football. The Thomas Tuchel Chelsea situation is not at all remotely similar to what Liverpool's going through right now, which has very little to do with Jurgen Klopp, who has proven himself time and time again as not just a capable manager, but one of the best managers in the world. It starts with the track record. The similarities between Thomas Tuchel and Jurgen Klopp end at the fact that they came from Bundesliga backgrounds and went from Mainz to Borussia Dortmund. That's it. That's where the similarities end, and then went on to bigger and better things from Dortmund. But that's it. From there, they could not be more different, and even their time at those places and their path to get where they went after that could not be more different. Thomas Tuchel has had short stints at almost every stop, and almost every one of them has ended with him at odds, typically with ownership, a lot of times with the players, the managers, the folks assembling the rosters, the fans in some cases, because he's a generally unlikable guy. His entire MO is to come in, light a fire under the ass of a team, get a good performance out of them, and credit where it's due because he does do that, but then to burn the candle too hard, too fast, and wear out his welcome, which is why he has had 3-year stints at all of those places. Jurgen Klopp, on the other hand, the discussion around him is whether or not the 7-year curse is a real thing because he's now in his 3rd stint of struggling in his 7th year. Do you know what you have to do to get a 7th season coaching a team in European football? You have to be really good. Not many managers live to see a 7th year at any location. This is the 3rd time in 3 stops Jurgen Klopp has been here. That alone should end this discussion. You want to have a 7-year curse? It means you've done something right. Thomas Tuchel has barely had 7 years at his last 3 stops. So that alone is all the difference you really need. But on top of it, Tuchel's only real success has been winning Ligue 1 in France with PSG, which is it's an accomplishment, I suppose, but it's not a great accomplishment. It doesn't take some great managerial skill. They've won the league repeatedly now. They spend far and away more than anybody else, and he got there right as they were acquiring the best young player in the world in Kylian Mbappe. So yeah, he won the league twice, but that's the basic expectations. Then he came in, took mid-year, took Chelsea to a Champions League, and I don't want to discount that in any way, shape, or form, but that's what Tuchel does. He comes in, fires up a dressing room, gets a lot out of them at first, and then his club invests a lot of money, as Dortmund did, as PSG did, and then they don't see more progress. And that's exactly what happened with Chelsea. And of course, then they want to run him out of town because they spent all this money and they don't get better. That's been his MO. That is what has happened everywhere. That's what's going to happen at his next stop. So yeah, if you want a little bit of quick success, he's your guy, but then he's going to piss everybody off and run himself out of town. And that's been exactly what has happened. Whereas Klopp has been sort of endeared everywhere he's gone, and he's left on good terms for bigger and better things. Jurgen Klopp is still the last non-Bayern Munich manager to win the Bundesliga, which he did in back-to-back years with Borussia Dortmund in 10-11 and 11-12. That's 10 years ago. And he's still the last guy to do that. He's also the only guy who interrupted Manchester City's otherwise flawless run in the Premier League over the last half a decade. Those are tremendous accomplishments, and he would have a couple more Premier League titles if it wasn't for what Manchester City is doing. And oh, by the way, a Champions League, just for good measure. So what you're comparing here is apples to oranges, or really very average apples to top of the line apples. I mean, this is not a comparison at all. And to be pushing for Jurgen Klopp to be sent out of Liverpool is just utter. I don't understand it. I don't understand it at all. Klopp has not been given all of the resources he needs. And it's tough for Liverpool to cry poor, but they spent the 11th most in the Premier League this summer transfer window. That's not a lot. That's middle of the pack for what is supposed to be one of the bigger, wealthier teams. Chelsea spent £253 million, while Liverpool spent £81 million. Well, that's why Thomas Tuchel's gone. Liverpool is struggling for a number of reasons. Virgil van Dijk has not come back to his full form. It looks like the legs are still... It's not that they're bothering him, but he just doesn't have that same comfort level. The midfield got real old real quick. They need an upgrade there. They need Jude Bellingham, frankly. But they haven't made the necessary investments there. They invested in places where they already had some success, up top with Darwin Nunez. But that was to replace Sadio Mane, who I can't believe they let go. And they missed. They missed terribly. And so this team is just not quite as good. And I've been on record saying I think they're still a top 4 team early in the season. And they'll figure it out. I'm not as confident in that. I'll be honest. I'm not sure that's going to be the case. But if it's not because Jurgen Klopp is not a good manager. And if I'm a Liverpool supporter, I want Jurgen Klopp to be my manager when I get the roster back that's going to make them a top 4 team again. I want him to still be there without a shadow of a doubt. Chelsea, on the other hand, if I'm a Chelsea supporter, and I heard a lot of supporters saying, "Oh, here we go again. This is the same as Abramovich and getting rid of managers too quickly." You should be doing somersaults down the aisle that Thomas Tuchel's gone, because it was not going to get better with him still there, because it hasn't. This is exactly what has happened at every spot. So to compare these two is utter nonsense, other than the fact that they are both large, wealthy Premier League clubs with big expectations that are falling short. That's it. That's where the similarities end. But you have to dig deeper to try and understand why and what the root causes are. Because there's some things a manager can control, and there's some things that they can't. And Thomas Tuchel did not control the things he needed to control, and Jurgen Klopp still is. And the issues that Liverpool are having are not necessarily his fault, and are correctable. And Liverpool is going to be very happy that Jurgen Klopp is still their manager when they get things right. That's it for stoppage time here on Pints and Punditry. Thanks as always for joining us here at Total FIFA Career Mode.